What's up? It's your boy Larry Howard, Coach Proof, and I want to remind everybody that the African American Performance Coaches Association, AAPCA, is hosting its fourth annual AAPCA conference. This will be taking place Saturday, February 21st, 2026, at the Atlanta Marriott Northwest at Galleria in Atlanta, Georgia. This conference brings together top performance coaches, sports scientists, and strength and conditioning professionals from across the country for a full day of education, connection, and professional growth. You can expect high performance workshops, keynote speakers, leadership development, and vendor exhibits from some of the top brands in training and recovery. If you are serious about developing as a coach and expanding your network, this is an event you do not want to miss. You want to make sure that this is on your calendar. Again, Saturday, February 21st, 2026. Make sure you be there.
Hello, everyone. It is your boy, Coach Proof, Larry Howard, Director of Strength and Conditioning here at DePaul University. And we are here with another episode of the AAPCA podcast. As I told many of you, I want to bring in diversity when it comes to the performance space. Different types of people, different people with different backgrounds, because I feel that all of us can learn from each other. All of us can learn different things because many of us have other types of interests besides just working in the team sports sector. And some people want to work in the private sports, and some people may have entrepreneurial aspirations as well. So I think that having different people on here provides us with those voices to be able to give you guys insight as to the road that they've taken. Today, I have Jeremy Hills. Many of you guys might be familiar with the Kane swag in terms of them shoes. This is one of the founders of that brand. I can tell you, I have myself a pair of Canes. They are great, very comfortable. He is also the president and co-founder of The Collective. He's a former running back from University of Texas, and he's a performance coach who has worked with several different athletes. I am super excited to have someone who has merged successfully in many ways, building brands, as well as working in the performance space, as well as creating his own performance space and actually creating something for the culture. My man, Jeremy Hills, how are we doing, bro?
Hey, I don't know what I owe you for that intro, man. But matter of fact, we gonna send you down a pair of K's, man. We owe
man,
you.
look, I love it, man. I love it. I got a pair already, and hey, I'll just add to the swag collection.
But no, I gotta clear one thing though. I gotta clear one thing. I wish it was my original idea, but it was not. It's my boy John Gagliardi's original idea. He brought it to me in 2021 he had launched. When I say, what was it, May 2021, and he had already launched, I want to say March of 21. So his original idea, you got to give credit to the work of others, right? Don't never take nobody's. So his original
credit.
And then I say one of my biggest contributing factors was the thought process of shifting away from just outdoor sports, which is where they were headed, 3 months into being a real thing. And I thought that when I read through, because my background is anatomy, kinesiology, and long time ago, I worked for an orthopedic medical device sales company, and I focused on distal extremities. So I used to see so many ankles and feet and all kinds. So when I read the white papers over the product itself, I was like, hey, this has the potential to make a wave and a real impact in the big three when you think of football, baseball, basketball. So we collabed really, really, really early on, and now here we are 5 years later, still growing that brand. So it's been...
It is so impressive to watch how, because I remember when it first started, because I was at the time working in the USFL, and you saw a lot of NFL players and you saw a lot of USFL players who, some were NFL players, and some actually went back to the NFL wearing these canes. They would come sometimes to lifts, they would come sometimes post-lift, and they would have these swag. And I'm like, man, and then my coach, the coach who I worked with, Zach Woodfin, he got a pair. And I was like, all right, I'm going to give me a pair. And now, recently, you're seeing them in Dick's Sporting Goods and places where now, it's even broadening its scale. So I will say credit to you guys for being able to build that. I definitely want to talk to that story because you gave out some insight and some details as to how that became a brainchild and how that product got brought to market. But one thing I like to get into with a lot of the people I bring on here is your own individual story. So if you take me back, like you played at UT,
Yeah.
obviously Longhorns, and you stayed in Austin, so obviously you love the vibe there. So walk me through when you played to now transitioning to where you are, and some of the reason and rationale behind some of the decisions that you made to get you to where you are right now.
Yeah. No, it was. So I grew up I'm originally from Houston, and I grew up on the south side of Houston, southwest area, in this area called A-Leaf, right? A lot of times, we had so much. It's a small little, hood, and it's a ton of talent that come out of it. Like I grew up with the Bennett brothers, Michael and Martellus Bennett. My older brother Tony played 10 years in the league. We had guys freaking go literally from Elsick, where I went, A-Leaf Elsick, to the NBA. Lizzo, I went to school with Lizzo. I went to school with Toby, the rapper. We played ball together. He played at us. The championship boxing twins, Jamel and Jamal Charlo.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
I'm saying we all grew up together this small, and so there was never a lack of talent that came out of it. It was all, honestly, it's this book called The Talent Code, by Daniel Coyle. I absolutely love that book. I think everybody should read it, right? Kind of talks to talent as DNA and something that could be passed on through others, through visual, through experience, right? From others that are not related to you. And then, anyways, amazing read. Definitely think you should grab that one. But to answer the question, it was like, I've seen so many. Those are the people that made it. I can only tell you how many that I've seen leave A-Leaf, go somewhere big, Michigan, USC, Texas A&M, LSU, Miami, go somewhere big for 4 years, and then come right back here. We called it a vacation from the hood. Oh, they took a vacation. Like that's, so like for me, when ball was done, I broke my leg and ripped up my ankle my senior year on senior night. You know what I mean? But I tell everybody all the time, my last football play ever was spent in the end zone. So we'll take that, right? It was like a 2-year recovery process from there. And then ultimately, by the end of that, I had some real decisions to make. But one of the decisions that I knew was that I wasn't gonna be a vacation from the hood. Like I was determined to figure it out where it was most uncomfortable. And for me at the time, being in a city like Austin, where, even back then, the minority population was just about non-existent, especially outside of your team on the university's campus. I was going to figure it out here because I felt like it was better soil for me to do so than it was to just go back home to where everything was comfortable and it was friendly faces and everybody that I knew. A big early driver for the decision was just, I knew that the best path was unfortunately at that time felt like the most difficult, and that was to sit here and figure things out. So that's ultimately why I originally stayed, and I can, I guess I can say, what's that? Almost 15 years later, I'm figuring it out. So, like that's the thing, is that like so often I feel like the path that we know is the right one is just the one that feels like the most strenuous, and that's why we try to avoid it. As to where I was just like, well, that's the way we got to go, and just and just went right. So that was a part of the early decision making. And then, man, it was we'll be here all day and night if I try to tell you every single up and down from that point. But again, worked at an orthopedic medical device sales company. Well, let me back up. Worked at CarMax. Worked at CarMax right out of college, because at this point, them scholarship checks stop, and you're in that space of, look, I got X amount in this account, I got no form of income, and they're getting bleak around here. Things are getting real bleak around here.
Listen, I think coming out, what year did you graduate?
2012.
2012. See, I graduated in 2007. So I think the two jobs that were pulling a lot of college just people, athletes, anyone who just was kind of in that transition, was CarMax and Enterprise. It's like Enterprise run a car, CarMax.
Yep.
You're just trying to figure it out.
Yep. So, sell this used car from him, or rent the car out at Enterprise. That's
you're working there. So trust me, I did Enterprise, so I know all about it.
Yeah, you know all about it, man. And I jokingly tell people all the time, man, looking backwards on that thing, man, I'm here in Texas. I'm here in Austin, Texas, and it can get up to the triple digits in the middle of the summer. And they got us running around in some thick cotton polos and some little Baywatch hoochie daddy shorts, man, some khakis. And I'm
At
like,
least they wouldn't let y'all wear that. We had to wear ties and suits and ties.
hey,
We had
no,
a
oh, this,
they man, we had to wear ties, shirt, and then we were going back there washing cars to get them to our customers at the time. They've changed it obviously.
yeah,
But
yeah,
man, we were wearing ties and shirts and slacks and dress shoes. I can't tell you how many dress shoes I jacked up.
man,
Just
yeah.
clothes just from washing cars and going picking people up. So I understand. I get that.
You get it. No, you
Yeah.
get it, man. So eventually, I was fortunate enough to shift from CarMax to, like I said, a medical device sales company here in town. I was there for the next, call it 2.5 years. And it was in that space where I finally, because I mean, you go through it, man. When you're not in this NFL dream that you had been seeing since you were like 6 years old, you go through like this mini depression of trying to figure things out. And then when I got with that company and I was back around sports and sports related injuries, I felt like this awakening again, right? Where it felt like somebody had like finally watered their grass. It finally felt like, like, okay, like this might be something. And then, almost this obsession of like, which, looking backwards, I'm heading towards what they call like the state of mastery, right? Where you obsessive around a thing again, and all you want to do is create, be involved in, and figure out how to do better the thing. Right? And for me, it was programming. I started writing training programs just based off of the new information that I was seeing from the day to day of my day job. Like I'm seeing athletes and non-athletes alike come in with the same injuries, but caused by different things. But when you look at the similarities between the cause of the injury, I'm like, oh my gosh, man, if we did this different, our body would react this way. And if our body reacted this way, we could potentially reduce the chance of this happening. Right? Felt like this almost mad scientist. And I'm in an old school 70-page spiral notebook, or just penning. But I'm 22. I don't have no clients or nothing like that. So I started driving back home to Houston, and I'm training the high school ball players for free because I gotta test out these theories. I gotta test this out on somebody that is as dedicated to trying to achieve what they are as I am trying to refine this idea, right? And I did that for a while, a long time actually, and it's one of those things where you planting seeds and you don't really realize it at the time, and at the right time, God had it to where all the seeds kind of just started sprouting, right? So I mean, it's 2012, 2013, 2014. I'm doing all this, and then in 2014, um, I'm thinking like, all right, I want to get into this industry full time, right? This is what I want to do, and I can either do it through a couple of different verticals that are available at the time. I can try to go back to Texas and become a graduate assistant. I can try to go back to Houston or put a resume out and try to lean on a network here in Austin and try to coach at the high school level. I can start with youth athletes, training them in the private sector, and then over time, maybe, a wide pool of youth athletes kind of narrows to a high school athlete that narrows to a college athlete that, maybe potentially one day narrows to a pro athlete. And then the influence of the pro athlete now gives you a wider pool of youth athletes. You know how that goes, right? And I'm writing all of this down, just comparing, contrasting, and I'm like, none of these get me to where I want to be, which is I wanted to be able to influence the top of this industry and work with some of the best talent that was available, speaking specifically at the time, football. And so once again, I'm looking at, okay, well, what's the path forward? And when I identified what the path forward was, it felt so unrealistic and just terribly difficult, right? It was, to me, the path forward feels like I'll go right to the player. Like with everything that I've learned through my own career and in the last now 3 years of like day in, day out in these operating rooms, working through these rehab processes with these athletes. There's so much information that I feel like if the collegiate and pro athlete had this information now and it was explained to them the way that I now understand it, they would have no choice but to view the way that they're training just slightly different. And so instead of going all those other routes that, provide safe income and provide a well laid out path, I was like, I'm going to go straight to the athlete. Like, my whole plan was go straight to the pro athlete. At 23, 24 years old, I'm about to go straight to the pro athlete with this 70-page spiral notebook with everything that I've learned that they need to take advantage of now, right? And I got like my Bible of teachings. I'm like, this is what you need to take into account, right? I want to challenge everything you're doing if it's not inclusive of this part, right? And the only way I knew to do that, I had saved up a little bit of money now working at this company here in Austin, and the only way I knew to do it was to get in front of them. And coming up, I was a decent ball player, man. I had 40 plus Division I offers coming out of high school. I was number 3 all-purpose back in my recruiting class. The two that were in front of me were what was the kid's name? He ended up going to Michigan. He was from Cypress Fair. Sam McGuffey and LaMichael James. So, Michael went out to Oregon and went crazy, first of all. So it was the 3 of us in the all-purpose back category. So I had some credibility as these guys growing up. You see them, you play against them at all-star games. You're with them there at the end of the season at award ceremony. Everybody's watching everybody's tape. Back then, all we did is watch Rivals and Scout.com and Scout 24. That's all we watched. So you play against them in college. Like I said, I went to Texas, one went to Oregon, the other one went to Michigan. You play against all these people, and unfortunately, no, it's not unfortunate. It's the way it goes. Some of them move on, but that doesn't mean that the relationships aren't still there, right? So I'm calling people up, cold calling. Hey, now, where you at right now?
At DePaul.
Okay, I would have been at the DePaul Cafe. You want to grab some lunch? I just happen to be in town. Yeah, and you'd been like,
that's
Jay?
That's a sales background. You cold calling people. You're just like, hey, I know where they hang out, so I'm just gonna go just randomly show up. Hey.
But the thing is,
NFL, I'm gonna show up to Indianapolis. I know they combine. Everybody gonna be there. I'm just gonna be walking around like, hey, love y'all.
Exactly. And I'm leaving from Austin, so I'm leaving. It's no such. They're not picking this up. They're not picking the phone up. So I got to go see them. So I'm flying to said city and calling when I'm there, getting a hold up, shooting them a text. Man, my boy, I had some people that I knew that was playing with the Saints. Man, I just happened to be in New Orleans. Let me know if you got time. Oh, bro, I've got most of the NFL schedules are pretty similar. So, I know what day I need to fly in. I know what time I need to, it's pretty similar. And, man, I took about 16 trips, man. Different up in Chicago, Seattle, San Francisco, New Orleans, Dallas, Houston twice. I'm going Indianapolis, I'm Jacksonville. Anywhere you throw a dart, I went there. You know what I mean? I got 0 commitments out of those 6. Because once we get to lunch, then I got my 70-page spiral notebook, and I get a chance to I'm like, hey man, this is. Have you thought about this? And I'm trying to convince these guys to potentially come train with me. Now, when I look back on it, though, in the time I didn't understand it. When I look back on it, I'm going on 37. And I look back on the idea that there was this 23-year-old sitting in front of another 23-year-old's face. One of them is doing, by worldly standards, exceptionally well. And the other one is not doing. Why would they stop with why? That don't make a ton of sense, right? But I always say, if you don't got an undying belief in yourself, don't you dare ask nobody else to believe in you. So
Facts.
That was the truth. It's in my mind, experience or not, that doesn't change what the truth is. And I felt like I had the truth in this notebook, right? And I had the truth from these. I got case study after case study after case study of real world examples of non-contact related ACL tears and the way that they're happening, and especially in a multi-directional sport like football, and ways that we can potentially, in a controlled environment, train in a way to reduce the chances of the significance of those same injuries. how about we have a knee sprain instead of an ACL tear, simply by preparing the body for what's to come next, right? And not just thinking of, PRs and how much I can put on a squat rack bar regardless of form or velocity or anything else, right? So it's like there's so much ego lifting that goes on, and in the younger state, so it's less of it now. I think we got a lot of the right people in the right positions now, but you fast forward 15, 20 years ago, it was still a lot of like, well, you're gonna eat this steak
Powerlifting
and
and
you're gonna
NFL.
drink
It
this
was
muscle
powerlifting
milk,
everywhere.
and you know what I mean? You're gonna eat this steak, you're gonna drink this muscle milk, we're gonna meet at 6 o'clock in the morning, you're gonna run till you can't run no more, you're gonna squat till you can't squat no more. It was a lot of, it was, looking back, you like, what were we doing? Like, what were we doing? But no, I visited all those places. Then I came back home to Austin, and when I came back home to Austin, I ended up having 2 athletes that came and decided to train with me. Now, that's the funny part. I didn't visit either one of those guys. They were just in Austin and needing somewhere to train. So yeah, I was like, yeah, you took 16 trips. You went 0 from 16. You end up getting 2, but the 2 came from a completely different vertical, right? But then, you fast forward, and this is where I kind of dedicated myself to the process. So thankful that I did at that point, because it's so easy for me to do it now. I'm so dedicated to the process that I can commit my all to a commitment without being emotionally tied to the results. And this was like a refining process for that mentality that has kind of carried me through. I had to, like, you ever heard the saying, I'm sure you have, that like comparison is the thief of joy. And it's like, I was doing this thing that I absolutely was obsessed about, that I loved doing, and losing joy from that because I'm picking up this little computer, looking on Instagram, and it feels like everybody is like light years ahead of me in the space that I want. I'm like, well, what are they doing that I'm not doing? But in reality, I had to just respect my own process. I had to respect my own process. And I think that, I forget which day exactly, but I remember early 2014, I just made a commitment to myself that I'm only going to compare myself to myself. I'm only going to look up and even compare this time once a year. And I'm going to look backwards and say simply, where are we now compared to where we were this time last year? Are we going the right direction? Check the box, yes or no. If yes, keep going. If no, look and let's about face and figure out where we need to go. But I'm not going to get caught up in this thing of checking what everybody is doing and taking all the inputs all the time. Like, I'm not going to do that, right? Actually, man, it's funny, to this day, you'll see on Instagram and stuff like that, I had like this black screen, red light around, and like a timestamp. And most of the time it's just my idea. The world is kind of getting like my own little personal journal. And a lot of times they'll see on there just win the day early in the morning. And that was really a reminder to myself that, like, early on, that was just a reminder to myself of like, every single day is unique in its own. Like, my grandfather's from Manny, Louisiana. It's a small little town in Louisiana. He used to always say, it's just the alligator closest to the boat. Like, that's the one we most concerned with. There's a whole bunch of alligators out here, but the one that's closest to the boat is the one that got our attention. Right. So it's like every single day that I wake up, I'm so locked into the details of that day. I'm not allowing myself to be enamored with the future or distracted by the past. I'm committing myself to this moment, completely to this moment, the details of this moment, right? And I'm going to give everything I got to this moment, then we'll move on to the next one. And I decide if I can simplify. Most athletes, right, we're structured in our approach and we're goal oriented. So when I kind of started taking this whole big thing that's life and then structuring it in a way that was digestible for me, and then committing to a process with a desired outcome, understanding that everybody's chasing that outcome. Everybody chasing that Super Bowl. It's only going to be one person to hold that Lombardi, but it ain't going to mean that we're not going to prepare that way. Like, it's going to be us. Right. So like just the same kind of, and I'm drawing these comparisons because they're there. Right. But it's like the same kind of approach. And in doing so, man, I looked up. The first year I had 2 guys. The second year I had 4 guys. The third year I had 13, 14 guys. And by that third year, This is why I said them seeds that you planted, right? It's 2015, 2016. I started when it was 13, 14. So 13, 14, 15, 16, you know, and we moving on throughout. About that third year, two big things happened at the same time. One of the high school kids that I was training in Houston, um, he was committing to Florida State. So I had developed just through that, and I guess I had an impact on him where he wanted to be able to be a part of his process. And being part of his process, I got to know Jimbo Fisher a little bit because he was coaching up there at Florida State. And I got a chance to go up there and meet some guys and everything like that. And you keep in touch with these youngsters. And I met two guys specifically I kept in touch with, and we ended up working together later. I'll tell you about those guys. But at the same time, an ex-teammate of mine, real good friend of mine, he had tore his labrum, a full 360 tear. And he had tore it right before they went to play the Patriots in the Super Bowl. He's playing with the Seahawks, Earl Thomas. And so he got this full 360 tear. He goes and plays in the Super Bowl anyway after the season. Obviously, does more damage. And then after the Super Bowl, he did his full, he had his surgery and was doing his rehab in Houston at Memorial Hermann. And I simply came to him and just asked him, now this is in my world, right? That what has been my world now for the last 4 years, right? 4 or 5 years. I simply asked him about the rehab protocol. And when we went over it together, just let them know that, like, hey, they've diagnosed the injury and they've given you by this day, you should be able to, you know, they're not, this isn't truly progressing you in a way that is unique to you. In my opinion, I think you should get it checked out by somebody else. Right. And he was like, well, why you feel that way? I said, well, they get paid as you show up, and it does them no good to rush you back for your sport because that does nothing for them. But every time that you show up here, you know, that does a lot for them. Right. And so he did through that, and he came back, and then, you know, he actually transferred and got somebody else to lead the charge on that recovery process. And then I asked him, could I be a part of that process? And that's a huge ask, right? At this time, this guy's like top of the league, right? And he he thought about it. He hit me up, and he's from Orange, Texas, and that's like a little border town that's on it's literally the last little town you hit before you enter Louisiana when you leave in Texas. And I'm in Austin, Texas. So it's about a 2.5 hour drive from Austin to Houston, an hour drive through Houston, and about an hour and a half to 2 hour drive to Orange, the border town, right? And he asked
I've been there before because I've driven from Mississippi to Houston. So we had to go through Baton Rouge. And then I think right before you get to Beaumont, was it that general vicinity?
Yep. You can't even get to Beaumont without going through, like, it's the,
I know where you're talking about.
When you seen that little sign, you know, the little signs, they look like the state that you're in. So when that sign went from looking like Louisiana and it said, and now it's welcome to Texas, and it looked like you're about to enter Orange, Texas. It's right there on it. You know what I mean? So he hit me up and was like, hey, can you get down here so we can talk? I was like, yeah, no doubt. And I'm thinking, I thought he was like in Austin or in Houston. He in Orange. And I had just drove from Houston. I drove from Houston to Austin, and then turn around and made that trek all the way back for a conversation, right? But like we talked about, if you don't believe in yourself, then should nobody else be believing in you either. So like these actions got to align, you know. And at the time, I got like, I'm making decisions financially, like, are we gonna put gas in the car, or we buy groceries? Which one? Because we ain't doing both. So which one are we doing, right? And like, so, you know, this in my mind, like, this gas is just is punching me in the gut. But these are the decisions that have to be made, because you screaming you want an opportunity, and if it don't show up, you know, in a way that's comfortable with a nice bow on a box that says opportunity and open me, then, you know, then you scared. Like, you know, I'm sure you heard the saying, like, a lot of y'all missing these opportunities because they look like hard work. And so, like, this is it. This is the, you know what? I'm going to hit my boy that work at Texas and tell him to grab me some of them power bars and some of those Gatorades, because we power bar and Gatorade because we putting gas in the car instead of the groceries. Like, because I need this trip. I need this trip. I believe in me that way. I need this trip. And went down there, spent the day with him and his family, hung out. And man, let me tell you, I was almost disappointed. The whole day went by. We're playing dominoes. We hooping. I'm like waiting on, are we going to? And it never happens. It never happens. It does not happen. And then I got to leave the next day because I got to get back out here to train and do everything else. And I was like, well, hey, you got to fire your shot. I will never feel saddened for firing my shot. I'm going to take my shot. And I got here like maybe a week later. His brother called me and was like, hey, Earl's trying to get in touch with you. I was like, well, what's going on? He said, he want to know if you can move to Seattle.
He says,
Yeah. Yeah. He want to know if you can move to Seattle, help with the rehab, and then structure all of the off season and everything else. And that was the first big boom. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, a pretty decent, steady income. You know what I mean? Just like a change in life change. One of the first life changes, right? 4 or 5 years in at this point. And you got to remember, like 4 years ain't a long time, but 4 years of uncertainty, 4 years of penny pinching every penny, 4 years of betting on yourself, 4 years of no such thing as a 401k in this game. It's just 4 years. 4 years of you beating the ground every day. You know what I mean? And so 4 years felt like 8 years, to be honest, but that was one of the first big breaks. And all these seeds started to come to fruition because at the exact same time, that high school kid that I helped with their recruiting process, that I was training for free as I was driving to Houston to do the training, and had committed to Florida State. And I met these other 2 kids. Those other 2 kids turned out to be Jalen Ramsey and Derwin James. And so it starts to this all of a sudden we start to get some traction here. And then these athletes go from 2 athletes to 4 to 8 to 16. So now it's hitting at the same time. And I spend the next year in Seattle, not just working with Earl, but in working with Earl. And, I meet a Cam Chancellor, I meet a Richard Sherman, I meet a Brandon Browner. And these guys, now I'm working with the whole Legion. I'm working with the Legion at the peak of the Legion. This is, and it's like
crazy.
You know what I'm saying? I'm working with the Legion at the peak of the Legion. And then I'll never forget, Earl specifically did an interview with Chris Berman, and he was talking about coming back from an injury and playing at the high level that he was playing, especially because he didn't miss a single game. He started week 1, day 1. He didn't miss a single game. And this is where like the platform of others is real, especially, and you'll get an opportunity to experience that platform if you add real value. And so when being asked about what was like, how was he able to come back and play at this level that he was playing? Mind you, he finished like second in the defensive MVP voting. He lost to Luke Kuechly. All right, had one of the best years of his career, and I'm taking no credit for that. But I'm saying we had a plan. We stuck to it. He mentioned my name one time. And my email inbox couldn't accept no more emails after that. You know what I mean? And then it's like, boom. Next thing you know, I see a ESPN article. It says, former Longhorn helps prepare Florida State Seminole before NFL draft. And then Jalen gets drafted top 5 overall to the Jaguars. And then a year later, Derwin goes, I think, number 16 or number 17 to the Chargers. Now we got a pipeline that's built. I'm creating my own institution, I guess you would say. Like I'm creating the capital to then back the idea so that I can continue to run forward at the obsession. And then the organic nature of growth, I didn't fight it when it came to me, because now it's like 2017, 18, pretty lucrative training business, independent training business. And I partnered with a facility here in town. We worked out a rev share. And now I was able to offer a much higher experience for the athlete than what I was able to offer prior. And so I was able to raise rates, but the value is still super high. And I'm so hands-on because I'm obsessive in nature with this. I'm so hands-on. And this was something I believe I was uniquely gifted with, was just human development. And I applied that to sport, and the sport that I love, which was football. I'm working on it year round. They're getting the benefits of it in incremental 7 months. And you look around, I got 80 plus athletes coming through the door, right? And life started to change a little bit. But I'm so curious, and I'm so again obsessive in ways that, like, I didn't stop there. I wanted to continue to learn and grow. And so the human development turned into, like, me. Actually, I was one of the 9 that wrote the entire training protocol for Vertimax. And at the time, Vertimax was a high product. We were out in in Naples, Florida, writing that whole thing. I met Yo Murphy out there and all the guys, and then I started teaching performance training, which ultimately I realized one of the reasons I actually loved the training space to begin with was because I got a chance to teach, right? And you got a chance to teach and connect. So I started teaching performance training to physiotherapists and exercise physiologists, both domestically and then internationally. And then the exposure internationally, I say 2017, 18, and 19, the exposure to the international markets is something that changed my life forever. Like getting out there and working with the Dubai soccer clubs of 14, 16, and 18U, getting out there and working with the National Men's Italian Volleyball Club, or getting out there and working with Team Mercedes, right? Being throughout Italy, being in Dubai, just being everywhere and being able to absorb as much as possible. It changed me forever because now, respectfully, football felt so small. Like football, and it's still my love. I don't know the last time I missed a game. I'm the guy that's watching in week 17 the Browns play the Titans. I don't miss a game. I'm watching every college game. Everybody will tell you like Jay ain't gonna miss a game. I got the split screen on and I got my laptop split screen on. I got 8 games. I love this game, right? But I recognize that this isn't the world stage. This was the American stage, and the world stage was much bigger. And being exposed to all of that actually exposed me to like probably had these facilities that you cannot imagine. Beautiful facilities that the most intentional, like high touch, high tech experiences, I would almost call them, because it felt like if the Four Seasons cared about performance training, this is what it would be like.
Wow.
And right. And I got inspired by that. And now, again, another seed dropped. And that was, if I were to do this, this is what I would. And I'm back in that 70-page spiral notebook again, right? And you know what I mean? Like
you need to put that notebook on lock and key somewhere, man, because that thing, that notebook is like the Holy Grail or something, man. It's
man, I'm telling you, my daughter done spilled red punch on it and everything. It's I don't know how long it's gonna make it, but in doing that, man, I got back to the States in 2019, and it was a online fitness platform. More seeds hit, right? It was an online fitness platform that was being built. A couple of guys out of Boston, Massachusetts were building it, and they moved down to Austin. And so I started helping them with the development from a coach's aspect of what to put in there, and then got involved really early there. And at the exact same time, I'm doing my off-season training. And at the same time, I got recruited by Lifetime Fitness to create a program that was athlete inspired, but for the group fitness space, right? Now I want to continue to challenge myself. It's not, now I was living to American standards. I'm living pretty good at this point, but this is not why we was doing it. Like, I want to continue to exhaust every ounce of creativity. Like, I want to put everything I have into the thing that I love, and I want to continue to develop that way. And so we were doing the online thing as well as writing up this programming for Lifetime Fitness. We wrote up a program called All Grind. I loved it, man, because then I had already seen how they did programs in the past. They had the Alpha program. They had the Alpha program that they still have to this day, and it was done really, really well. It was a brother in Dallas. I forget his name. Man, it's gonna bother me. I got to look up his name. It's gonna bother me. I got to give him his credit. What is the name of this program? Freeman. What was Freeman's first name? David Freeman. That was his name. David Freeman had created the Alpha program, and he did a phenomenal job with it. And I had a different aspect of, because I was like, I want to create something where the barrier of entry is probably slightly higher, because instead of like watering down athlete-related programming to fit the general fitness space, I want to bring the general fitness space up to athlete-level programming. Just like kind of like a slight tweak, right? And I will niche down the field, but when you look at how many people Lifetime are touching in their membership base, niching down the field is still multiple hundred thousands that will participate. So, it made sense. But then, if you remember, 2020 hits, right?
COVID, everybody remembers that.
I want this to be taken the right way. I was apprehensive and uncertain like the rest of the world, but for me and my personality and where I was at that time, it was the best thing that could ever happen. It was all of a sudden the world pressed stop. The way that I had negotiated this lifetime deal, it was a front end pay with a back end royalty. Never received a royalty because we never released the program, but they had to furlough the deal. When they furlough the deal, everything that's been paid from the front end, I get to keep. Now, this wasn't of my own doing. This was a world event that stopped. But now you get this influx of cash. Now, mind you, Lifetime, multi-billion-dollar company. They like, hey, you're good. Don't worry about it. But for me at that time, it was significant. That was a significant thing. You keep the programming and the capital. And then I told you just a couple of months prior, we had the online thing that I was really, well, what happened in 2020? Everybody shifted online. The name of the app is called Join Ladder. And it now has
Join Ladder. Yep.
It's skyrocketed up to being the number one fitness app on all major platforms, right? So you got this app that you are vested in and involved with that has skyrocketed up. You got this program that you've written that has now been furloughed. You got this influx of cash, and then you got the world pressing stop. So you have an opportunity to decide. So but I also got an extended off season with my guys because nobody knew when they were going to return back to playing. So now you get, if you think about your ARR around your actual main source of income, you've planned for a fragmented 7 months that you normally get, but instead you're granted 8.5, 9 months of consistency. So you just got another 2 months of additional pay from the thing that you did not anticipate, right? You got the one-time payment from the furlough, and then you got the app skyrocketing. And you got the world pressing pause, so you get a chance to think. I said, hey, remember those facilities that I seen?
I knew that. I was starting to think, like, this is probably when he decided, you know what?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
It's like, remember those facilities that I seen? And that we had just had our daughter May 14th, 2020. So she was just born. My mom was terrified. She was like, because I'm trained. I drove down to Houston. I'm not above doing the grunt work still to this day. I drove down to Houston, packed up the biggest U-Haul you could find, went and wiped out an equipment manufacturing company, and then drove back to Austin, went over to Home Depot, found some of the homies, and they put together a gym in my garage overnight. I mean, a full gym in my garage overnight, a full performance center. I got some old photos.
They was working to try to create their own home something. I accumulated most of my equipment during COVID.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So then I started running groups of 6. Remember, because they were saying you can only be 6, right? So I started running groups of 6 out of my garage, and and this, if you don't have the actions that say you believe in yourself, don't you dare ask nobody else to believe in you. And I'm not waiting on the okay. I'm acting. I'm acting, but I'm only acting with I want a laser sharp vision. And then from that point, I want a laser sharp vision. And now we've planned and we've lined this thing out and we've agreed to this plan. Don't talk to me about the plan no more. Let's get back to the work. So now I'm back day to day. I got a group of 6 at 6 a.m. When we get done with the weight room, we heading over to the local park. I got the sleds lined up out there. I got everything that we need lined up out there. I got all our cone drills. I got a nice little boom box. I went and bought like 6 of the same boom box because when one go dead, we just fire up the next one, right? And I'm a one-man band. I was a one-man band at this time, so I got a group at 6, got a group at 8, I got a group at 10, I got a group at noon. Took a little break. I got a group at 3, and then anybody that missed, I got a makeup group that comes in at 4:45. And this is it. And they're like, how long are you doing that? I was like, until they told these guys they could go back to the league. We're going to run the program. I start having guys that I never worked with before calling me saying, I got to figure out, because remember, the airports were shut down. If you remember, like, people, you couldn't fly for a while or anything. I got guys calling me saying,
everything was shut down.
Hey, I'm about to drive down there. Do they got any available hotels? Because I got to find somewhere to get some work, and I see y'all working. I started accumulating more clients during this time, right? And I'm working on this idea of what this facility could be and everything else. And while I was penning for a lifetime, I had met, which went on to become our co-founder, a man named Devin Lowe, who was over the acquisition team for Lifetime. I think he was also over the GMs too in the city. And he and I, just through organic conversation, of better understanding, he has so many questions around the mindset and the understanding of the athlete. He ended up, and that stemmed from him hearing a disagreement between an incoming rookie and a 10-year vet as the NFL collective bargaining agreement was coming up for renewal. And he was like, well, why isn't this? And why ain't that? And I'm explaining to him, well, this guy understands it like this. This guy's on his career at this point. So he has a family. He's thinking about it like, well, who are the people that are put in place for? I was like, well, you got to understand, respectfully speaking, overwhelming majority of the NFL, the incoming class is going to be predominantly minorities, Black. And unfortunately, they don't come from this like super versed understanding of financials and how it all works. And then the guys that do hold the knowledge and understanding, they're usually 30, 40 years their senior, and they don't look like them. So there's a natural distrust or a guard up from that. So it's not as easy as just information flowing through. That information has a couple of hurdles to clear. And then it needs to be in a space where it can be received before it will be on fertile soil. And then ultimately he was like, so who's giving these guys the information? I said, man, sometimes it's Uncle Larry. You'll never know. Sometimes you know what I mean. Sometimes it's anybody. It is anybody, and so he was fascinated with that. And as we continued to talk, was working on this idea, and they said, well, what if there was a way where we could vet the people that came into interaction with the people? I was like, what do you mean? It's like, what if there's a way where we could vet it? I was like, well, the only way you could create a facility and vet that is if there was an application process so that you could meet and then vet the members. And then from there, you could allow for organic crossover to happen, but it can't happen because he was thinking, well, could we do it in a cohort type setting? Could you do it in this business? I said, well, you got to remember, if I don't have a deep business understanding or background, I'm normally not myself in that environment, right? It takes some getting used to. But you know what environment I am myself in? The one I've been in my whole life, the gym. So if you vet everybody else and then put them in my environment, I'm a lot more likely to be receptive as I am myself. And so we thought, well, what if we can create this space that's a crossover between the professional athlete and the business professional? And we named this space. And so we said, well, let's reverse engineer what we're offering and what the person that's experiencing those offerings feels. And so we talked, well, again, this idea of, I don't want to water down the pro athlete experience to then reach the masses. I want a more selective few that want to have that pro athlete experience, that want their labs team on staff, that wants the chiropractor, that wants the massage therapist, that wants the physical therapist, that wants the high-end recovery methods, that want, like, the person that's actually saying that is of value to me in a way where I'm willing to pay, right? And this is when we started piecing together what ultimately ended up becoming the collective. We're becoming a collective, right? And imagine the world stopped, right? And it's 2020, so the world stopped. And as we're piecing this thing together, and I'm still training my guys, app is still doing really well. I knew what the next step was. It was the hard one. It's like, there's no objective measurement that qualifies me to be making the decisions from the front just because I was the original idea. I don't believe that qualifies you. So I needed a qualifying body that I could compare my ideas against. And then I went back to school. I went and got my MBA because I need something to have legs that says, okay, this is a good or bad based on X. And then from there, I'll extract and put together and everything else from a creative standpoint. But I need some structure, and that's what that was. And so in the middle of going to school and raising my newborn and trying to alleviate mom's worries from having groups of 6 in and out this garage from sun up to sundown, we started working on the idea that eventually became the collective. And that was probably one of the best things that could happen. I remember talking to mom, and she was just like, "What are you doing? Do you think a gym is the best idea right now? Look at the world." And I said, "Well, if the world is gonna end, if this is the actual end to the world, then yeah, this is all for nothing. But if it's not, if this is not the end to the world, if at one point, a year from now, 3 years from now, 5, maybe 10, we look backwards on that time, then all we're gonna remember is what we were doing and what came from it." And so I was treating every day like how I wanted to look back. When I look back on COVID now, I think about how, it was terrible. It was definitely terrible. But when I think about what I was doing, and I think about, I'm sitting here now talking to you because of what was done during that time, and we signed a lease for the building. We started building it out. Everybody, I felt like, and I mean this in the most respectful way, I felt like this must be what Noah felt like, building a boat. Like,
He's like,
yeah,
I mean,
every
that's just a great analogy. That's a great analogy. If you were to think of
every
anyone in the
single
Bible that you
person, every person you can
you telling
imagine,
everybody's going to rain and you building an ark and you're like, well, and everybody's looking at you like you're crazy.
it never rains and this guy's building a boat, right? And it's like, how you even gonna get a boat to the water? Like, but the thing is, like, that's what it felt like. It's like everybody's like, you building a gym? We're not even getting 6 feet close to family. You think we're gonna go sweat and get 6 feet close to strangers? You're building a gym? You know what I mean? Like that. That's what they, and I kid you not, man. Obviously, you know how that story ends. We built the first facility. 2021 is when we soft opened, and we officially opened that one March 3rd of 2022. And in that time, like I told you, in 21 is when I had met John with Kane. So we started working on Kane. And it was a natural fit because, like, you're building this gym space. You had this recovery tool. It was a natural space, right? You're working with these athletes. So it was all a natural space. And all the athletes were super excited for me because now they had a home to call theirs, right? Mind you, like I said, we've been outside for the last year and a half. Outside, I'm talking sleet or snow. You know what I mean? So those guys were excited. And then that was March 3rd of 22. We opened the first one. February 4th of 23, we opened the second one. And here we are in 26. And they're building out my Nashville location right now. Signed a lease for an Orange County location. Potentially, we're working on a third location here in Austin at the same time. So it's like, you look at all of this now, and it's like, oh man, you must have had this grand vision. But if I really break it down for you, I'm like, I'm not scared of the hard work. I'm not scared to go the path that's the toughest one. I'm willing and able to lock into the details of today. And I'm not afraid of what risk yields. Risk can yield failure. And I'm talking about risk of, if it's a grand scale that everybody sees, in the sense of you're building a gym in the middle of COVID, and this has 7-figure type of implications. Or if it's, you're going to drive down to Orange, Texas, instead of buying groceries. And that only has, that's a $200 implication. But you tell me which one carries more weight. Which one carries more weight? Spending your last dollar on some gas instead of food, or building something when everybody's saying you shouldn't. Like, which I think it's all the same. It's more so, it's less so about the decision, and it's more so about the decision maker. It's you. Like, it's you. Who are you in the time of adversity? Who are you when everybody's saying don't do it? Who are you when the decision is unconventional and even slightly, yielding a wild outcome if it don't go your way? Who are you? Are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to get in the car and drive to the other city and work with them people for free so that you can prove out the thesis? Are you willing to bet on yourself and go get them to jump on a plane and fly to these people and try to pitch them on the idea? Are you willing to even advocate for yourself? Are you asking people to support you? Are you willing to advocate for yourself? Are you willing to take 16 no's? You know, and I forgot, let me back up. All 16 of them ended up coming to work with me at some point. So it worked out.
So
That
like
part
all
worked
16
out.
of them,
Yeah.
ended up coming back.
No, this is the crazy part, bro. And I will never let this man live it down. And I bring it up every chance I get. One of the 16 was my blood brother. Same mama, same daddy, same household. And he was athlete number 11. He not the first guy. He was athlete number 11. And it happened. He was
my blood brother.
Played 10 years. You're right. He played 10 years. He was with the Saints. And kid you not, they didn't make the playoffs. And guys were in the locker room talking about where they were going to go for offseason. And he just overheard two of his teammates talking about, man, I think I'm going to go to Austin. It's this cat out there I've been hearing about. And it was me. And he was like, that's my brother. And he came that offseason. And because of that, there was no such thing as no family discount, man. He got full rack rate from day, right? But that's the thing is that, like, and others may disagree, and that's fine. But I feel like you got to go earn your happily ever after. Like you got to go earn that. Like that's earned, and that's earned through consistency. That's earned through all of the other things. That's earned through heartbreak. That's earned through failure. That's earned through perseverance. That's earned through grit. That's earned through a little luck. That's earned through a lot of prayer. Like you gotta go earn it. One of my favorite books is The Alchemist. And it's like, look, man, don't be afraid of what your journey yields. Stop looking around. One of the best things you can do is tell yourself that this is what I told myself, because I am a human. So we are going to look up and compare in our fields. That's going to happen. But I'm going to put some parameters around it. I'm only going to look up every 5 years. Every 5 years, I'm going to look up and see what is going on with everybody else. What are they working on? What are they doing? And I'll tell you what, every 5 years that I'm going on my third set of 5 years now. And every time I look up, it's the exact same. Very few that were in the front are still in the front. Overwhelming majority that were in the front are no longer there. And they have now done either something completely different or a different variation of what they were doing. A lot of the ones that made a lot of the noise are making noise doing something completely different or irrelevant. And a lot of the people that you would think you would want to be like, you no longer want to be like. So, like, imagine if you stop allowing that shit to influence you. Just imagine what happens if you stop letting that water get in the boat. Like, how clear would your vision be at that point? How aligned would your steps be at that point? All of a sudden, I believe you'll put yourself in position to almost eliminate the missteps. You get to the point, and I'm speaking from experience, you get to the point where you start walking in different spaces that you've never been in before with very little apprehensiveness, because it almost feels like I know exactly what to do. Yeah, I've never been here in my life, and I know exactly what to do. I'm not clouded with all this outside noise. So it's like, I can't encourage people enough to seek wise counsel, prove a friend, make sure that stuff is in line and is there for you, and then let's get to the work.
And you have touched on a lot. Let me tell you, this is like a master class on entrepreneurship, especially if anyone is considering having their own performance space or just entrepreneurship in general, from whether it be building other brands, working with other companies, and being able to yield the profits from those, and then having your own product too. So I have a couple questions for you, because this is a lot to digest. And man, wow, that is a crazy story to hear how the collective came to be. My first question for you is, I guess it's two-part. Who were your mentors, or did you have anyone that mentored you in this space? Because obviously you're walking a space that in some ways has not been trotted before. You know, you were creating, now you have people who have done performance gyms, like Brandon Marshall, he says the House of Athlete. You have Dave Alexander, he has DBC. You have, who else? You have
Pete Bommarito's. Bommarito has his. Mark Verstegen has Exos. Yeah.
So you have all these different variations of where the performance destination for athletes off season, combine, what have you, right? And then building out into a commercial model. Who were you? But I don't know if any of them really built during COVID. I mean, so that's very unique again, because that's what I said. The Noah experience is one thing to build, it's a whole another thing to build during COVID,
Right.
and
Right.
to be
Right.
very exclusive in what you're trying to offer too, because it wasn't necessarily a standalone commercial gym or even an F45 or I'm building
Mm-hmm.
LA Fitness. You were building something very specific. So, did you have any mentors that gave you guidance along this path? And then, my second question for you is based on research with some of these other spaces. Have you looked at, in terms of when you're doing market research and how you're evolving, have you studied any of these other spaces? And if so, what are the things that you took from those studies that helped you in the development of what you're doing?
My goodness,
It's a two-part
that
question.
first question.
I know, I'm sorry.
First question is good. That second question that's a great question. First question is pretty simple, right? It's something is one that's relating only to me. But that second question, anybody can draw from that, right? It challenges the way you look at problem solving. But the first one is simple. Coach Benny Wiley, he was my head strength coach when I was at Texas. He
Benny
took the Oklahoma.
Wiley, that's crazy.
Yeah,
You know,
that's my,
I've actually interviewed him. We have to reshoot that episode, but I've actually spoken with him because now he's at the University of Houston. But
he's
Benny
at U of
Wiley
A.
is, yeah. So was he? So he was your mentor in the performance space
He's
and a
the
lot of these
reason
other places.
he's the reason I'm in this field at all. Yeah, I wouldn't be here. I literally wouldn't be here without him. I don't know what I would be doing, but I mean, he he challenged me to chase mastery in a way that I had never been challenged before. I mean, in an aggressive daily way. I mean, he text you and he call you and like, and when I look back on it, I was 21, 22. He had nothing to gain. He stood to gain nothing, and he believed in me in a way that was very unique until I was able to believe in myself that same kind of way. Benny Wiley. Definitely. The crazy thing is, I probably now have more business experience than Benny, and I still will text and call and ask him certain questions just because of the way he thinks. I can draw from it and then put in place certain things with my level of experience that make a ton of sense. You know what I mean? Then the second one, I also learned a lot from Mark Verstegen, I got to say. I spent some time at Exos out there throughout their whole performance education situation. Mark Verstegen spent a lot of time with me, just walking me through the Exos model, like why, like from the naming of Exos to even the operations and how one side of it, fed another, et cetera, et cetera. Him spending a lot of time with me and helping me understand that piece. I don't know if you can hear my little ones coming.
I know all about it.
Okay. And then the second question you asked, which was, I want to make sure I hear this right. Did I draw inspiration from other fields? And if so, what was it and how has that impacted everything?
Yeah, other places. We have a lot now, obviously, as I mentioned. You have House of Athlete. You have D1 that's doing more of a franchise model. I mean, you're seeing that.
Right.
You're seeing that with DBC. They're starting to do a franchise
Yep.
type of model. Exos has been more of a corporate-based structure when it comes to their performance, but I do know that they have different performance coaches. I mean, they have
They
a
got
lot of
satellite
different
locations that they put in like
satellite
Google.
locations.
Else.
And how is it?
Believe it or
How
not.
has it?
So
And I would say, just to give you a little bit more guidance as to what I'm looking for, how has it molded what you're doing, and how has it molded the model in which, or if you could even expound upon the model in which you wish to go forward with the collect.
right. Absolutely. So yes, but it wasn't other performance places, right? It was more of a complete. It was the wellness world. It was the wellness world. I drew inspiration from the Soho House. That's where I drew inspiration from. I loved and still do. It's almost like a game to me of like when I'm traveling to find the Soho House if there's one there, because I know I'm gonna get the Soho House experience in a completely new box. It's gonna be unique to the city. It's gonna feel like a different way, and I'm drawn to that. I'm drawn to like the high level of detail that is put in the building and from the staff, like the high touch, the feel of it. It reminds me of the international facilities that I've seen, which makes sense because Soho was created overseas, right? But it's like, man, what happens if I can give this type of experience to the performance based field? Like, what happens if I take the Soho House and create the wellness version of it? Like, and as I started working through that, is ultimately where we landed with Collective. And then I thought, obviously, we need to have the level of experts that can deliver at a very high clip because of the type of athlete that we bring in and the type of business professional that we attract. But so, how do we have this service provider that's excellent in their craft, and then an even better person, but also carries this personality trait that's so high touch that it feels like I'm at this Soho House, right? And I'll openly say that. And then from the that's the branding aspect of it, but from the business aspect of it, I don't not all of it is corporately owned. As I continue, I mean, all of it's corporately owned now, to be honest, and own the majority share of that. But as I scale, I want to lean back on my experience and my network to be able to scale properly an idea that I created, but I don't own the inspiration. I don't believe anybody owns inspiration. So now what I'm doing is looking for the new markets. And I believe that the best people businesses are led by the best people. So I'm looking for new markets. And as I identify a new market that has all the ingredients to make this collective pie, then I'm looking for the most important ingredient is who's the managing partner, right? So as I found the Nashville market and I loved everything about it, I loved what Nashville presented as an opportunity. It wouldn't pull the trigger on that facility without the right managing partner. And the right managing partner for that location is a friend of mine who's been the long-term performance coach for the Detroit Tigers named Shane Wallen. Right, Shane was with the Cleveland Browns staff. He's been the head performance coach for the Detroit Tigers for a very long time, and he's phenomenal, and Nashville loves him. So now what I get an opportunity to do is go in there and grab a Shane and say that, hey, man, you put your work in on that side already. You've done that. You don't gotta go to work from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. and miss out on the family life and all of the other things and spend 8 months with. It's time to start working for you. And then I get to partner with Shane on that specific facility, give him and teach him and show him what ownership is as he is an actual and equity holder into that specific location. Give him a sense of ownership, know he's the right person to lead the charge, and then I can provide the infrastructure around him. Now I got 15 years in this field and a ton of relationships all over the country. I feel confident that I'll be able to go and select the market and I know the right person for it. And him or her, if they're ready for that opportunity and they're ready for that jump, because the team, man, that the team sector, like that can be tough. It can be demanding. And from what I've seen, I mean, who am I telling, right? I'm preaching to the choir, but like,
I know. Damn.
how do I give the right people what I believe is the right opportunity to then lead, impact, and live in a way that they want to, while still now growing in this other side of it because they have the support, the infrastructure, and a partner in me, right? And so like that is the way that I'm going to uniquely scale it, and I'm excited to continue to do it. Like my guy Augustine is the right guy in Orange County, man. He really is. Like he just is. And we got the right people in Scottsdale. We got the right people in Seattle. It's gonna come a time. I might come knocking on your door. It's gonna come a time where I'm gonna go through this entire network that I've now been privileged to be a part of over the last 15 years, and I'm gonna say, hey, I want to put a collective here, and you got to be the guy, or you got to be the girl. That's the only way it works. And if they're ready, then they're gonna step into ownership and still be able to live out the field that we love so much.
Wow, that's something. So I'm clear, it's looking more like a franchise type of situation where you have
More of a licensing more of a
More of a
licensing.
licensing?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But so what we do is with the franchise situation, right? It's like you run this like this. Here's the playbook. With the licensing, and this is where the unique difference is. And again, I draw the inspiration from the Soho House. Is they're all so different. That's what I'm looking for from Collective. I want Collective Nashville to be Collective Nashville. I don't want it to be Collective Austin. I would be very disappointed if Collective Nashville is Collective Austin. I will be highly disappointed if Collective Orange County is Collective Nashville. I want like that. I'm looking for that uniqueness, which is why the person is so important, right? Because this is the brand, this is the support, this is how we're gonna build it. And then obviously, I'm a partner, investor, and equity holder in the actual individual location. But so is my partner in that location. I get the opportunity to do what I love, which is teach and work alongside some of the best professionals in this profession, and then they get the opportunity to take that next step and move into a world of entrepreneurship, a world that is not often presented. I've seen too often some of our heroes in this field be discarded at the end of their contribution. And so I'm like, hey, before we get to that, let's leave on our own terms and let's step into something else that's going to be fulfilling in the way that you can't even.
Wow. Yeah, you see it a lot with coaching carousels. So it's something to be able to provide that space and an opportunity to own in that space. That's amazing. I have a couple more questions. I know we've been going for a little while, but I feel like
You
this
good?
is definitely a master class on just entrepreneurship and just life and just resilience in general. So I definitely appreciate all of the contributions that you're giving. One question I have for you is, you have a lot of people here that are in this community that may want to start their own space or um, have entrepreneurial hopes and things to that effect. What advice would you have for those people?
There's never a perfect time. There's never a perfect set of circumstances. Perfect is what you make it. If I had to tell them anything, it would be almost like this 30-70 rule, right? No decisions are to be made with less than 30% of study, knowledge, information, and understanding on whatever the subject is. And then at the point that you have more than 70% of that exact same thing, you're probably too late to the party. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you better learn to not just use the logic from this brain, but understand how this one works too. That gut feeling, that's a real brain. That's a thing that exists, that is real, right? And you can make it smarter by equipping yourself the right way. So read about the people that came in front of you. Read about the industry that you actually want to be a part of. And even in an entrepreneurial manner, you want to be a part of some type of vertical. Read about it. Like, read about the mindset of those that have found success doing the thing that you want to do, anything like it, or something different. Because ultimately, you're going to draw so much inspiration and creativity from like what you take in. We've already decided, right? We've already agreed that what we're not going to be taking in is just what's scrolling on here. What you have to take in something. And you take those things, like that's when it's going to start flowing and you're going to get that 70-page spiral out, right? So read, digest, take it in. The world is education, man. There's so much going on where you can uniquely solve the problems that you're called to solve, right? And then find that alignment, and then from there, I think some people are entrepreneurs, right? Where they're not the person to go first. And entrepreneur just means that you're the trailblazer. You're willing to go first. You're willing to take your spear and your bow and arrows and tell the village that you're gonna go into the woods, and then when you come out the woods with a slice here, an arrow in the side, and the spear broke, and you got a line, you're dragging a line out the tail, you can be like, hey guys, we're not going that way. Right? Like, but the entrepreneur has a subset of skills that are very important, but they prefer to work in a more put together environment. And that is completely fine. One of my best friends is an entrepreneur. One of my best friends is David Mulugeta. He's a sports agent for Athletes First. The type of success he's had, I mean, he's done over $1 billion worth of contracts now 3 years in a row. The type of the success that he's had, he could have been started his own agency, but he's an entrepreneur. He didn't have to. He didn't have to set up HR. He didn't have to set up. He didn't have to set up. He get a chance to work in his skill set in the confines of whatever. What athletes first in this example, and then as he continues to find success, I'm sure he continues to stretch what those confines are. But don't feel like you have to be an entrepreneur because there's other ways to approach it. But what I would tell both groups of people is like, pick up a book, man, read, write, take note, read, write, and take note, and understand that like it's a time for planning and it's a time for action, and don't get those times mixed up. Do not get those times mixed up. What we say, paralysis by analysis. You know how many intelligent people there are out here that are scared, are deathly terrified to make a mistake. You got to remember with this thing is that like progress is king, not perfection. Progress is king, right? So like, as to where you're deathly terrified for any type of mistake, you've only taken 10 steps in the last 10 months. Somebody else, they letting that chopper fly. They've taken 90 steps in the last 10 months and they missed on over 50% of them. But guess what? They 30 something steps in front of you. Like that's the way it goes, right? Is like you gotta understand that education is all around us. The education is in the experience, and the only way you get the experience is by taking those steps. And when you take your L, I hope you learn from it. And when you get your wins, I hope you learn from them, because all that's gonna do is make you more accurate with the steps. It's not gonna make you step any faster or any slower. We're not gonna climb higher and now become more timid. We're just taking more accurate steps. It's like that. You watch that guy on Netflix the other day that like scaled that building free. He didn't start scaling that building like that yesterday. How many times has he fallen? How many bones has he broken? How many but now he's at the point where he's smiling and waving and in Taiwan going, are we talking about? Like, you gotta take steps, man. You have to.
2 more questions for you and we get out of here. First question, do you still do performance coaching? Or because I know you've spanned out, and I know you obviously have a very busy book of just entrepreneurial business now. Do you still have a foot in that world of performance, or have you?
Yes, my guys. Yes, my guys. They'll tell you I've gone corporate. Yes, my guys. Like, I'm corporate. So I've been at the best part about this thing is, like I said, I discovered a long time ago that teaching and education was my passion. And so one of the best parts now is finding the talent. Finding the talent and helping them become great performance coaches. And then I hire them. And then, so what? I'm not the lead of our off season any longer. But the best part about it is I got everybody scheduled. I know where everybody's going to be. So the best part about it is I get a chance to jump in any session at any time. And I can just pick up. I know exactly where they're at, and I can just pick right up and jump in there. But I don't lead our off season anymore. And it was a tough decision for me, but objectively speaking, the type of dedication, attention to detail, and consistency that's required to lead a professional athlete through their through their off season, whether it's NFL, baseball, basketball, whatever, cricket, tennis, I don't care. I no longer possess that type of time. So I had to, it was the selfish thing would be to still lead that, to lead a session. And then in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I got a board call in 45 minutes. I can't, we talked about it. Like, I got to be here now, right? So if I'm unable to do that, then it was time to take a step back. So this is year 2, actually. It took me all the way up to this time. I didn't want to turn it over, man. But this is year 2 that I'm not leading off.
They had to pry you off of it.
Man, yeah.
You still get, once you're a coach, you get that itch. You're just kind of like, man,
it still happens. I'll walk in the facility. This is a true story. I'll walk in the facility, and like let's say a 9 o'clock group is going on, and I got a 10 o'clock meeting, and I'm there, and I'm with the guys from 9 to 10, and then I got to jump out. But like I'm there as a support. I'm there as a second pair of eyes. I'm there. There's still no professional thing that I get like working with athletes. So in any capacity that I can contribute to that.
Last question for you. Where can people find you? I know obviously you're a very busy person, but if people listening to this podcast want to ask you a question or tap in with you? I
Yeah.
mean, I know you're a very busy guy.
I'm on all the socials. Just J Hills 5 on every social. JHILLS and then the number 5 on every single social. I gotta update that thing, man. I had that since college. It was just J Hills 5. But that and then
Everybody
my
got that
email.
number.
Right.
Yeah.
But my email is probably the best place. Is jhills@thecollective.com, and that's collective spelled with a K. That's the best place to find me. And I'm gonna tell you why, being super honest, is because if you send me something and I don't respond, my email is gonna remind me every 2 days until I respond. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like it's a good reminder for me of like, I need to get back to this, right? So email is probably the best way, but JHills5 on all socials as well.
I have one random question. Why the K before collective? What was
I told you I was in grad school.
Yeah.
So my concentration was marketing, and this is what we talked about earlier about being intentional. Is in my marketing concentration, we talked about the way that the human brain performs and digests information. And so many of the times you need a disruptor for it to stand out and come to the front of your consciousness, right? So if you were telling me a story and you were just talking about how bad traffic was as you were trying to get here, what you wouldn't say was, then I exited and I went through 3 green lights. All lights were green. There was no everybody was going the way they were supposed. I put on my blinker, I made the right, and I was here. What you would say is, then I exited and the damn light was out. The one that's right there by the gas station had a tree that was down or something like that. And then when I got through that, like the other one was taking forever. And I finally made it there and I hung a rack. You remember the things that are wrong. So it was intentional for us to put the K instead of the C because I knew that even if you were talking bad about us, you wouldn't say that gym. You would say the collective every single time.
Jeez. Hey, y'all just got some game there. That is game. That is his game. Like I said, this is a masterclass. You literally just gave some game to everybody. Anybody who's out here thinking like how they want to brand themselves, he just gave you guys a major key. Just dropped a major gem here.
That's it, man. That's pretty good. And guess what? You can find that information in a book. Pick up a book.
Exactly. I've been telling people, you know, one of the things that people don't do as much, which we probably did when we were younger, was have library cards.
Yeah, that's true.
Library cards are clutch, especially now because some of them you can actually get. And I'm gonna drop a gem. Some library cards have the ability for you to link to different apps like Libby, where you have audiobooks now. You can literally listen to one of these books while you're driving, which is something I do.
Yeah,
It gives you the ability to ingest information. It's just another gem for y'all. If you guys don't know anything about this, definitely get a library card. Bring it back to that.
No, absolutely.
Appreciate you, Jeremy. I appreciate you for hopping on this podcast and providing your story and all of the various things that you have done and how we've gotten to this point. You guys, if you guys have any other questions for him, please feel free to reach out to him on his social. And if you guys are in any of these areas, you know, be sure to check him out with the collective and continue to support this man's brand. He's been doing amazing things. And like I said, it's important for us to be able to highlight individuals that are doing these things and taking these risks because that's how we continue to move forward. Appreciate you, my guy.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother. Thank you for the opportunity, man.
We'll see you guys on the next podcast. Again, this is Coach Proof, Larry Howard, and I will talk to you guys on the next one.